And now here we are in 2025. There has not been a recession. There has not been a bear market. And yet we have 5 indicators stacking up once again. This is the 10-2 Treasury chart. This chart has predicted every recession going back 50 years. And right now it's flashing red. If it's right, we could be looking at a 20+% market drop, and most investors won't even realize it until it's too late. I have spent days compiling all of these into one spreadsheet to see how many of these indicators coincide with every single bear market. This chart shows the difference between the 10-year Treasury yield and the 2-year Treasury yield. The yield refers to your return on investment. Normally, you would expect to have a higher yield from a 10-year Treasury than you would a 2-year Treasury. To better understand, think about accepting a job where you're choosing between a 2-year contract and a 10-year contract. You would push for a higher salary on a 10-year contract because a lot can happen in 10 years. For your 2-year contract, you might see demand for your industry go way up, and then after 2 years, you can renegotiate a higher rate. But if you don't get to renegotiate at all in a 10-year period, then you're going to push for a much higher rate up front. The same goes with treasuries. Typically, investors, if they're going to lock their money away for 10 years, then you want to get a higher rate. So normally, there is a positive difference between the 10-year and the 2-year. But whenever the yield inverts, that means that the difference here drops below 0. So this black line right here, this is the 0 mark. Anytime the blue line drops below the black line, we have a yield inversion where the 2-year yield is higher than the 10-year yield. The reason it happens is demand for the 10-year treasuries goes up, which pushes the yield down. When you have so much demand, people are willing to accept a lower yield. And the reason they want this 10-year treasury is there is a lot of uncertainty in the short term. People are scared that the economy is going to tank in the short term, so they want to lock in a good rate for a long period of time. There's also pressure on the 2-year yield to go up because the federal funds rate affects the 2-year treasuries. As the Fed is increasing interest rates to get inflation under control or slow down the economy, it can push the yield up on these shorter term bonds. And we can see this interaction historically going all the way back to 1978, where the difference between the 10 and the 2-year yield drops below 0. And then about a year later, a year and a half later, we see a recession again in 1982. Again, in 1990, during the dot-com bubble, we see it. During the financial crisis, we see it. Even during the COVID-19 recession, we saw the yield curve briefly drop below 0. And then we had a very short recession associated with COVID. And now we've had the Treasury yield difference drop below 0 in July of 2022. And now almost 2.5 years later, we still have not seen a recession. Now, it's important to keep in mind that the stock market is typically a leading indicator for a recession. That's because the stock markets are forward-looking. When people who are participating in the stock market look forward and see trouble on the horizon, stock prices will typically drop before a recession. So if I'm mainly concerned with the stock market crash, then I am less concerned with when the recession is going to take place, and I'm more concerned when enough people in the market think a recession is coming. I built this chart in Excel showing when every single recession happens versus when we have a bear market. And a bear market is when the stock market drops by 20% or more. I also included a few instances where the stock market dropped by 18%, so it didn't quite make it into bear market territory, but still a large drop nonetheless. So the dark gray zones represent bear markets, the light gray zones represent nearly a bear market, and then the red zones represent a recession. So we can see that before every single recession, we have a zone of stock market drop off. In 1980, we can see the recession lasted 3 quarters, and in the middle of that recession, we see a stock market sell-off. There are only 2 exceptions to this rule. Once in 1987, known as Black Monday, we had the stock market crash by more than 20% in a single day. Now, this was not due to problems in the economy or a recession. This was due to structural problems within the stock market. Options and derivatives and the technology around high-frequency trading was relatively new, and at that time, the market had no way to halt trading. If there was too much negative volume all at once, it would result in the stock market dropping by an insane amount. Since then, they've implemented the concept of circuit breakers, where if we see tons of people selling, the stock market can actually be halted to stop the momentum, let traders gather themselves, and then resume trading after they've had a short break. And this has helped to mitigate massive sell-offs in the stock market. In 1990, we saw an 18% sell-off preceding a recession. In 2000, before the dot-com bubble, we saw a market sell-off start about a year before the recession started. And then in 2008 financial crisis, the sell-off began a month before the recession. During COVID-19, we saw a market sell-off happen concurrently with the recession, because this one happened so abruptly. The government actually shut down the economy because of a pandemic. There wasn't a slow buildup where the economy was starting to lose steam. It just happened all at once in this case. The second exception happens in 2022, where we saw a bear market, but we did not see a recession. Now, this is a really key hint to what we can expect going forward. The market crashed here, not because there was a recession, but because enough people were fearful of a recession. Like if you're in a crowded movie theater and somebody yells fire, everybody starts running for the exit, people get trampled. So the reason people get hurt is not because of the fire, but because of the fear of the fire. With a stock market crash, if enough people yell recession, people run for the hills, they sell their stocks, and we see a stock market crash without an actual recession. So the question is not necessarily when is the next recession, but when is there going to be enough hints to cause fear in the market? To answer that question, I found the 5 best, most accurate indicators of a recession, and I'm looking at past historical evidence for how many of these indicators need to stack up before we see a stock market sell-off. Now, there are 3 basic types of indicator that I'm using. The first one is a temperature indicator. This one gives me a feeling for what the market feels is going to happen. The stock market is an example of a temperature indicator. If the market is scared, then that indicator is going to drop off. If the 10-year treasuries go way up, it's because the people in the market think that something bad is going to happen. Not necessarily that there are bad things happening in the market, just the fear of that. So the number one temperature indicator that I'm using is the 10-2 inversion. Now, the 10-2 inversion kind of also fits into a second category. It does also represent a little bit of bad things happening in the economy, because the 2-year yield can sometimes be correlated with the Fed raising rates. So the second indicator that I'm looking at, which is a measure of the economic performance, is the federal rates. The federal fund rate is shown right here. And once again, the gray regions are recessions. So what typically happens is the Fed starts to raise rates. That's this blue line right here, as they're trying to slow down the economy. If inflation is getting out of control, they're going to raise the rates to slow it down. And then when they realize that they actually have slowed down the economy, then they drop rates. And it's the drop in rates that signifies a recession. The Fed realizes that, oh, the economy actually has slowed down too much. We need to drop rates back down to speed things back up. We can see historically, this pattern repeats itself again and again. In 1957, it happens. We see in 1960, the rates go up, and then only after they drop down do we see the recession. Again in 1970, 1975, 1980, it was very pronounced. But a little bit more recently, if we look at the dot-com bubble, we can see rates were raised up until September of 2000. And then as rates drop down very quickly, we see a recession again in 2008. It happens before the COVID crash. And now here we are, rates have been pushed way up, and the Fed has started to bring rates down, which is typically a sign of looming recession. So this is going to be one data point that the market looks at when deciding, hey, do we want to sell out or do we want to keep holding our positions? The second indicator for the state of the economy, which is the third indicator in total that I'm looking at, is the Conference Board Leading Economic Index. This index tries to look at a handful of leading economic indicators to decide, is a recession imminent? So if we want to see which indicators do they take into account, the the average weekly hours in manufacturing, initial claims for unemployment, manufacturer new orders, index of new orders, manufacturers new orders, building permits. They even take into account the stock market, the credit index, interest rate spread. So once again, they use the 10-year Treasury bonds and the average consumer expectations. So just to dive into a few of these to see how they could be used as a leading indicator, if new orders are slowing down, then that is a sign that the economy might be slowing down in the future. If building permits for new housing units is going down, then builders are less confident that people are going to be able to buy houses in the future. They also use the average consumer expectations for business conditions. Now, this one is more like a temperature meter because this is people's opinion of expectations for the future. This chart shows the leading economic indicator line in blue, as well as recession zones in gray. So once again, we can see the blue line dips going into each and every recession. So if the blue line is dipping, then this is a major clue to the market that there could be a recession looming. And in 2023, we saw this line reach its lowest point. It has started to go back up, but now it's dipping again, and it is still below this average 0% line, which is the primary indicator that the market uses to determine if a recession is coming. So this is yet another clue that can be used to see how likely is it that the stock market could look forward to a recession. The next type of indicator that I like to use is a risk multiplier. This is something that can cause more selling once the initial selling starts. One example of a risk multiplier is margin usage. This chart shows the amount of margin used as a percentage of total currency in circulation. Whenever the percentage of margin reaches greater than 40%, then there is more likely to be a recession in the future or a market sell-off. When people use margin to invest, when the stock market drops a little bit, they receive a margin call. This means the bank or the brokerage that loaned them the money forces them to sell because that brokerage is worried that if the price continues to drop, they won't be able to get their loan back. So high uses of margin force people to sell more stock once the stock market starts to drop. It creates a lot more risk in the future for a bear market. For a bear market, the stock market has to drop by at least 20%. That's a large drop. It's a lot easier to hit that mark if there's tons of people utilizing margin, because more people selling means the stock market will drop further and further. The second risk multiplier indicator that I like to look at is the market valuation. My favorite valuation indicator is the Buffett indicator, which compares the total value of the stock market to the gross domestic product of the US. If the stock market exceeds the value of the gross domestic product by too much, that could be a sign that the stock market is getting too overvalued. So the way we read this chart is each line represents one standard deviation above or below the average. So if the stock market is within one standard deviation of the GDP, then it is considered fairly valued. Once we see this blue line go over one standard deviation, it's considered overvalued. And then 2 standard deviations is strongly overvalued. This has only happened a few times in history, once before the crash in 1970, again right before the dot-com bubble, and then a third time it happened right before the crash of 2022. And now it is back up at all-time highs, 2 standard deviations above the average. This is another strong indicator that the market is overvalued and that there is a lot of risk investing in the market right now. This is yet another data point for investors to look at, which might cause people to conclude that a recession is around the corner. Now that we've seen all the different indicators, I have spent days compiling all of these into one spreadsheet to see how many of these indicators coincide with every single bear market. Now here is the graph right here. So just a quick rundown. Once again, the light gray regions are nearly a bear market. The dark gray regions are a bear market. So purple, we have valuation. This is our Buffett indicator. Blue, we have the leading economic indicator. Light blue is our federal funds dropping the federal rate. Green means high margin usage. Red is a recession. We've seen that before. Yellow is the 10-2 inversion. Our first bear market that we're looking at took place in 1980, and we saw 3 indicators stacking up before this market sell-off. In 1987, this was Black Monday. This was our one exception where there was really no indication before the sell-off. But then in 1990, this was an 18% sell-off, not quite bear market, but we did see 3 indicators stacking up, which gave us a very strong hint that the stock market would be fearful of a recession. And we did end up with a recession right here in red, partially through this sell-off. So the ones that stacked up this time were the 10-2 inversion. We saw a drop in interest rates and valuations were incredibly high. Moving forward to the dot-com bubble, before the sell-off began, we saw a 10-2 inversion. We saw valuation and high margin usage. And then in the middle of the sell-off, we saw a leading economic indicator red flag. At one point during this sell-off, we saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 indicators stacking up. Valuations were high, leading economic indicator red flag, a federal funds rate drop, high margin usage, and a 10-2 inversion. Now keep in mind, during a bear market, this is the very peak at the beginning, and then over here is the very lowest end. So even if you didn't catch the clue until right here, if you were able to sell some of your shares or change the way you invested new money, you would still benefit by taking advantage of these 5 stacking indicators. Moving forward to 2008, before the financial crisis sell-off even began, we saw 4 indicators stacking up: 10-2 inversion, high margin usage, a rate drop, and valuation concerns. Moving forward to the COVID crash, just a little bit of warning, we saw 4 indicators once again stacking up: 10-2 inversion, rate drop, we have the leading economic indicator, and valuation concerns. Before the 2022, we saw 3 stacking up, and now here we are in 2025. There has not been a recession, there has not been a bear market, and yet we have 5 indicators stacking up once again. We've got a 10-2 inversion, margin usage, a rate drop, high valuations, and leading economic indicator red flags. With 5 different red flags all stacking up, these are all clues to people who are participating in the stock market that a recession could be imminent. It doesn't matter if the recession happens as much. It only matters if people start yelling recession and then start running for the exits. So with this in mind, I'm going to be very cautious going forward that there can very well be a bear market incoming, because there's so many clues stacking up. Valuations being high combined with high margin usage means that any little thing could tip the stock market and then it could fall quite a bit. So the way I'm handling this is I'm not going to be selling out of any of my positions currently, but I will be changing the way that I invest new money. And I have been doing this for some time. I'm looking for companies that are conservatively priced, that are strong, great businesses with a strong moat, and still have high future projections, but they're conservatively priced today. If you want to see how I find conservative value companies, I have a public YouTube portfolio series where I invest in a different company every week. Check it out right here, and I hope to see you there.